Okay, the first one I'll talk about is, I'll get this totally wrong as well, Otoboki Beaver.
Oh, okay.
And the album's called Itekoma Hits. So this is I think it's a 4-piece, all-female 4-piece sort of noise, art rock, punk band. It's sort of a compilation of like previous singles or EPs that they've released, and it has a real sort of rage to it and a sort of frantic energy that is just addictive. It's 14 songs in 27 minutes. It's all about repetition and sort of those, sort of almost like The Fall, almost like you're gonna, the lyrics are gonna repeat and repeat and repeat and repeat until it just sinks in. Some of the songs are like 30 seconds long. Some of the vocals on it are so sort of shredded and screeched. It almost reaches like a sort of the grindcore fan in me, sort of like, oh, this is good. This is sort of.
I mean, like the lead, the one that sort of does the majority of the vocal duties, like she sounds genuinely unhinged sometimes. And then when the gang vocals sort of come in, it's just them shouting the same Japanese phrase over and over again and stuff like that. It's always like you get little bits of like shredded up English, like little English phrases.
I really liked it. Yeah,
it's that thing that the Japanese language as well. It lends itself so well to punk.
Yes,
because it's all like syllables. It breaks down to syllables really well.
Yeah,
so you can chant it, you can gang vocal it really easily, and it sounds amazing.
The gang vocals on it are great, and the musicianship on it is also. It's just like a total spit in the face. Here we go, full throttle. It's done in 27 minutes, and it's blister, and it's just great. It's good fun. You know, it's sort of, it's joyful. Mm-hmm. But what the content of the songs are, it's more about, I guess it's about female empowerment. I guess, being able to actually say these things as a woman in Japan. Yeah. I guess that's what it's about. It's not sort of. I think they've come out and they've said, we're not going to be doing songs like feminist anthems and all that. Yeah. It's just like, I want to say something. Here I am saying it. Yeah. So it's good fun. It's like sort of
a majority of their the videos that I've seen in like a lot of the lyrical content that I can gather from context clues. Yeah, seems to just be like, I ain't no wifey, I'm not going to make a meal for you. And stuff like
it's
that.
more sort of that than a preachy thing.
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed this.
It's actually one of the ones I've listened to as well, and it was a lot of fun. And as you say, it's short. It's punchy. Short. It gets you right in the face, and then just fucks off.
I think some of these albums that I've got, particularly, some of these are quite short. I think that's the trend these days with albums. With Spotify, it's funny because what happened when CDs came out is albums went from 45 minutes to 70 minutes or 80 minutes. Anybody that sat through 2001 by Dr. Dre or any sort of mid-2000s or mid-90s rap.
Oh god,
you'd be like,
so bad.
Why is this the length of a King Crimson album? It's
well, you've got to get all the skits.
You've got to get all the skits in.
You've got to get the meandering, boring, like rambling self-reflection stuff in sometimes as well.
It was how many rap albums in that era had what felt like 2 minutes of just like the noise of a door being left open. Yeah. How many rap albums just had boom, 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 while you heard somebody in the background struggling? It's sort of. So what was I right? So it's funny how maybe it's something to do with streaming or ads or whatever, but we seem to have went back from that, thankfully.
Yeah.
A lot of albums these days, maybe it's a thing where people don't actually listen to albums, really. You're streaming specific songs.
Yeah, a lot of the time, yeah.
So if you're going to make an album, typically, like something like, a lot of the good albums that we've liked this year, like Tyler, the Creator, some of them today, you're talking like 45 minutes.
if you're pushing it, like,
yeah.
And again, one of the best records from last year, Kids See Ghosts.
Yeah, what's
27
that?
minutes.
Yeah, and
it's like 7 tracks long.
Yeah, it's great. It's more like EPs now that have been released as albums,
and I do not have a problem with that.
No, I love it.
If you can refine an idea down to like under half an hour, go for it, because like clearly they've got something going on in that record where it's like they all musically it's very coherent and cohesive.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, they've got a sound. And now they've given me a little taste, and I want more. I want more Kids See Ghosts. It's whetted my appetite.
Yeah, leave them wanting more.
Exactly.
And that's what this album sort of does.
Don't overstay your welcome, Dizzy Rascal.
Oh, did it? Oh, we'll get into that.
We'll get to that.
Oh, we'll get into it. But yeah, so this album, really nice little sort of. It's not really pop punk. It's more sort of noise rock.
Yeah, it's
punky
like straight
stuff.
up noise punk
Noise
kind of
punk.
thing. It's got more attitude than pop.
Yeah, but it's really good. It's a good fun record. I would highly recommend it. So yeah, that would be my first.
Now I'm gonna show my hand very clearly with this one, and it's only gonna get it's gonna continue on in this tone a little bit this time, because I'm sick of being upstaged. I'm sick of being the guy who just brings indie to the table all the time.
No.
I'm sick of being the guy who sounds like he listens to the same shit over and over again.
No, I'm just a wank.
But the thing is, sometimes when you want to indulge your wank impulses, you find some genuinely amazing stuff.
That's true.
Didn't necessarily happen this time, but I liked what I heard by a band called $75 Bill.
All right,
and the album was called I Was Real.
Okay.
It's basically like two guys, and it's total Bandcamp music. It's very indulgent. It's blues, jazz, post rock.
Okay.
Sort of stuff going on. There's songs on it that sound like they're from fucking Noi soundscapes.
Right.
And stuff like really, really meandering stuff, and then like sometimes it feels like it's getting more into like Godspeed You Black Emperor territory.
Oh, alright, okay.
Where like it's mostly driven by strings all of a sudden. It's like the big sweeping like sort of strings come in and that, but sweeping's maybe the wrong term. It's completely stationary strings, to the point where it almost has a sort of droney feel to it.
Oh.
The biggest problem I had with it is that it does feel meandering in places. Not in that way where a good Godspeed You record can go on for about 90 minutes as well, and it has very distinct movements, but they can get stuck in a movement for a long time. But it's always building. It's always layering new things on top of it. This is like, there's a track on it. Oh, it's the title track, I Was Real. It goes on way longer than it needs to, and it gets lost.
Okay.
It gets lost in this sort of sound, in this tone that it's creating, and it doesn't go anywhere. It feels like it's just sitting there.
Sort of, it's just one note.
Yeah, and it's like, this is a bit self-indulgent. These two guys thinking that they're making some kind of like post-rock, like experimental avant-garde masterpiece, when really they've made something that's like, it's interesting at a glance. Okay. And then when you let it just sort of seep in, it starts to get a little bit boring. Like, there's not a lot to it. When you chip below the surface, there's not a whole lot underneath, kind of thing. Whereas with Godspeed You hear all this different instrumentation building and building and building, and it's like, eventually the clamour wins, and you always get the big crescendos that sort of eventually give way to something.
Godspeed's one of those bands that, you know, their albums, they couldn't be 45 minutes. You know, although admittedly, you know, see those sketches they have, the skits on their albums, where it's just like a car door being left open, but for 19 minutes. You're just like, fucking hell.
So yeah, like this record it's very, very background. Okay. To the point where you almost forget what it is.
Yeah, I've forgotten the name of it already.
Just to, as a little reminder, $75 Bill, I Was Real. Give it a listen if you're in the mood for something that sounds vaguely like it's got farts of krautrock in it, and farts of post-rock, and farts of jazz, and farts of blues.
Sounds like the sort of thing I'd be into. I'll give it a listen.
But it feels like it's a weak sauce version of a lot of things that you like, condensed into one thing that doesn't quite work.
Yeah.
Basically, that's it.
So it's not the stinkiest of cheeses.
No.
It's not going to leave something on your palate. Like, ooh, why am I always comparing albums to food?
Well, as we found out from last time, the analogy did work eventually.
Yeah.
You just had to let it settle in, and you had to build on it a little bit.
That's true.
So we'll see. Maybe the cheese thing will come back up again.
Yeah.
Like something like Otoboki Beaver's album is a bit like a really sharp Parmesan, maybe. Because it fucking punches you right in the mouth, and you're like, oh.
All right. Okay. So I'll see if I can name a cheese for each album then.
Yeah. What's your next cheese?
Okay, my next cheese. I don't know what cheese you would use to describe this. This is another punk album, a female-led punk album by a band called Mannequin Pussy. And the album is called... So it's Mannequin Pussy, and the album is called Patience. Okay. This is their third album. I hadn't really heard of them before. I had a little listen to the earlier stuff. This is a really good album. It sort of has that nice mix of vulnerability and total chaos. It's another really sharp, fast record. A lot of throat shredding. The lead singer, I can't remember her name. She's the lead singer and guitarist. Just absolutely throat destroying, screaming, and then this sort of more ethereal, whispery stuff going on. So the riffs on it are colossal, and the momentum on the album is really good. It's possibly the best punk record of the year so far.
Oh, okay.
For myself. But what elevates it above the sort of nice, chewy grunginess of it is the vulnerability on the record. There's sort of emotionally fractured undercurrent to the record that's... A lot of the songs deal with quite sort of openly abusive relationships or drinking too much and trying to find love and this sort of thing. So it's sort of got its foot in a sort of emotionally very vulnerable place. And then when her vocals come in, there's moments in it where she says something that's very raw, and it totally takes you back, and you're like, my God, what is... So there's like a song called Fear and Desire where she just basically goes into this whole thing about being pushed up against a sink or being bashed around and all that sort of stuff, and then some of the lyrics on it are very clever. There's an allusion to that famous Crystal song, He Hit Me and It Felt Like a Kiss, but she sort of flips it, uses that as a sort of point to sort of deconstruct that whole sort of bullshit mentality with that song. I think that song, the sort of Phil Spector thing, I think it was his idea. He Hit Me and It Felt Like a Kiss, and it's just it's an icky song. So she sort of uses that as a sort of analogy. But sort of subverts the intention of that song. So it's really interesting record. It's got this sort of emotional, vulnerable undercurrent that's really fascinating. But if you want some decent chug-along punk, it's got that as well. So yeah, I think it's really worth checking out. Mannequin Pussy. It's got a great name as well.
Yeah.
Mannequin Pussy. It's good. Great name. I would highly recommend it. What about yourself? What have you got?
Well, do you want to tackle Bandana?
Okay, yeah.
Okay. It's a bit of a
this will be a divisive one.
Yeah, it makes me feel quite mad because like I can feel the talent and the energy oozing off of this record. And I just didn't like it. Like, I from the sounds of it, I don't really like Freddie Gibbs as a rapper.
Yeah.
Like, his head seems to be buried in the trappings of rap from about the 2000s, where it's basically just about boasting and being violent.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's pretty much all he's got. But then sometimes there'll be like little glimpses of social awareness in what he's saying.
Yeah. There's a lot of mention of sort of Black Power.
Yeah, it's like he clearly
sort of
there's more to him, but it feels like a lot of the songs get lost in this stupid like braggadocio and stuff like that. As per usual, it's like it's but the beats on it are solid. Like Madlib does the trick. Like it sounds great, and I like a lot of his Gibbs's flow. Like his actual like
he's great. His flow is great on the record. It's very dexterous, and the sort of changing of tempo within, sentence by sentence or line by line is very impressive.
And it's like you get a glimpse of just how good this guy is.
Yeah.
That's the admirable part. Everything else beyond that, I'm just like, you have something here and you're kind of fucking it up. I bounced off of the album quite hard because of that. Because like the talent was there, the quality is there, but it didn't pull me in terms of like I couldn't like it.
Okay.
I could admire it, but I couldn't like it.
Okay. No, I get that. I did like it. I really liked it. I would repeat a lot of what you said. I think Freddie's vocals and the delivery is pretty fantastic. It's the most sort of varied vocal that I've heard from a rap record this year, in terms of he's going to change it up, and he's sort of described how difficult it is to rap over Madlib's melodies or beats. Yeah, and you can tell that because the last record, Pinata, I also love. It's great, but that was more of sort of Madlib's record. Freddie was good, but he hadn't brought his A game. I think he really does on this record. To the point actually where the one issue I had with it, I had less an issue with the sort of fuggery of it. I thought I think there were moments of interest and insight and introspection on it. It is very much sort of hood cocaine rap, but it's good quality. It's like you don't with hip hop these days. You don't really get gangster rap as blatant as this these days. Yeah. So it is. I would call it less of a throwback and more of a distinct genre piece, I guess. I would say so. I had less of an issue with it in terms of that. The issue I had with the record, I think it's really solid, and I really did enjoy it. It's probably one of the better hip hop records I've heard this year. But his vocals and his delivery were so good that the guest spots felt slightly pointless. Like the guest spots are all good. Yep. None of them are bad. I think Mos Def is very good. Black Thought is very good. Pusha T also very. He's always going to bring his A game. And the soul sort of singing from Anderson .Paak was all very good. Killer Mike was also good, but he was slightly underpowered a little. It felt like if you're going to have him on a record, let him go full tilt. Yeah. Sort of felt a little reserved. So all the guest vocalists are good, but you almost feel like this could have just been like an Eric B and a Rakim record. Like, just let it be totally Madlib and Freddie Gibbs. You almost don't need the guest vocalists. As good as they are, they're not really adding much, I would say. It's
just so par for the course now. Everyone needs to have like 8 features on every track and stuff now. Like, I know that's not what it's like in this album. Like,
I think it's
more reserved.
It's more reserved than most hip hop these days, but. Yeah, that would be my one quarrel with the record. I totally get where your shortcomings come with it. Yeah. But yeah, no, I could avoid it. That didn't deter me as much. He himself, there's issues with him.
I read up on him. He's been accused of sexual assault and stuff in the past,
and he's like an anti-vaxxer. And
like no smoke without fire. Sometimes
he's very much. So I guess you would call him a libertarian. I think is probably what you would say. So there's issues with him, but that didn't distract, at least for me, the quality of his rapping. Yeah. So. But yeah, I think it's probably much higher on my list of the year than you.
That's the thing. It's like musically and like as a complete piece, it's easily like one of the best albums of the year, and I can see that.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me, it's not
left you cold.
Yeah, it's not an album I'm going to be listening to again.
No, that's fair enough. I've listened to it 6 times.
So, and also this one is going to be very, very quick because, quite frankly, there's not a lot to talk about here. It's just a good soundtrack album.
Okay.
Which is strange because we've been covering albums in the last episode that was like that Biffy album that was entirely a soundtrack to a movie, and it sucked to high heaven.
Yeah,
so did the National
one.
But the Hacks and Cloak Midsummer score.
Oh, right, okay.
I still have not seen the fucking movie. I really want to see the movie. I loved Hereditary, and I loved Colin Stetson's score on Hereditary.
Oh, right, okay.
Colin Stetson, the saxophonist.
Yeah.
He did the score for Hereditary, and it's so creepy and weird in that way that only he can manage to manipulate a piece of brass.
It's very,
It's like, I don't know how he does it. Basically, the Hacks and Cloak, I didn't really know who the Hacks and Cloak was.
I'd heard bits and pieces.
Yeah. And from the name, I was like, oh, that's like some kind of witch house band or something like that. I was like, that's some fucking... That's going to be some young person music. No, it's just good EDM kind of stuff, like good atmospheric, ambient-y kind of dark ambient stuff. And that's pretty much what this score is. It meanders in places between like sort of being screechy and weird and off-putting.
Okay.
And obviously like to try and like match this sort of this tone that the movie is clearly going for from the trailer. I wish I could actually see the movie. But it's all about like nightmares being brought into daylight.
Yeah, sort of Wicker Man sort of thing.
It's like you're experiencing this stuff that feels like something out of nightmares, but it's like it's in perfect blue skies and like all these people with floral wreaths dancing around.
Very
you and stuff
sort
like
of Scandinavian.
Yeah. And it's like you can feel it in this album. It's got a really nice sort of an ebb and flow to it, and it is creepy in places, and just generally the music's very solid. So it's very, very good as just a nice piece of music.
Okay, all right.
Is it even worth talking about if I've not seen the movie yet? I don't know, but I liked it.
Fair enough. Sounds interesting.
Yeah.
Cool. I'll give it a listen.
So yeah. Oh wait, you didn't give anybody a cheese. What?
Right.
What mannequin pussy? What cheese is mannequin pussy?
Okay, mannequin pussy. So you're looking for the most vulnerable of cheeses. The most vulnerable but chaotic of cheeses. Let's say a manchego.
Okay.
Manchego has a nice sort of sharp edge to it. But you can also crumble it. The Freddie Gibbs album. I mean, that's just late 90s cheese. That's just
that's American cheese.
That's American cheese. That's
Kraft singles.
It's not like this. Our cheeses will differ for this album. You'll say it's cheese in a can.
It's like Dairy Lee.
But I would say it's better than that. It's like really, like the fucking cheese you get on like hot dogs.
Oh yeah.
That's just like fucking barking but delicious. I would say it's good old American horrible cheese. My next album is it's an ambient piece of electronica by a guy called Leaf. He's been going since about the mid 2000s. Okay. The album's called Loom Dream. This is also another short record. It's about 31 minutes, something like this. Unusually for an ambient record, it's quite short. But what's interesting about it is how varied it is. Sometimes what it initially starts out as is a sort of chill out album that you would have had from the Orb or the KLF's chill out album, something like this. And it incorporates sort of found sound like bird song and sort of nature stuff, and it sort of acts as a single piece. It's sort of like 6 or 7 tracks, I think, and it acts as one piece. But what will happen is that you'll have this nice sort of I guess quite natural, ethereal sounding music.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden it'll then erupt into a sort of pummeling drums and sort of interesting time signature changes. So it's more aggressive than a typical... Aggressive's the wrong word, but it's more sort of grab you by the throat than most ambient records.
Yeah.
It's got the nice sort of la 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 bird songs and the rest of it, but then it'll absolutely kick your ass. Like a beat will come in, and it doesn't feel strange. He manages it very well. It doesn't feel like, it doesn't jar.
Yeah.
It's like the percussion will begin softly in the mix, and then it'll really sort of like a marching band almost. It'll just come to the fore, and it's like, God, I'm absolutely sweating here. Just yes, come on. It's really good. It's a really good record.
I'm still reeling at the fact that it's 30 minutes and it's an ambient record.
Yeah,
that's a mark of quality right there.
Yeah.
Here's another little bit of flavour from my list. Co.
Okay.
With an exclamation mark. Fongola.
Okay.
They're from the Republic of Congo, and they make like dancey, electronic tinged kind of not indie. It's got a little bit. It's basically pop music, but the instrumentation is all made from stuff that's been upcycled.
Okay.
So it'll be like bin lids and stuff like that. Basically, the entire band was birthed out of communal gatherings where you just join together and throw a bunch of shit into like the shape of a drum kit, and maybe like draw a string over a piece of wood in a can and make yourself a little diddly bow or whatever.
Okay.
Like that kind of mentality of let's just band together and make some banging tunes, and it's full of bangers. It's got the African like sort of singing over it and stuff like that. Like it's got just an amazing sense of pace and rhythm to it. Like everything's so like sort of simple with the instrumentation. It gets into like a really, really fucking solid rhythm, and you just find yourself like it's really driven. It drives you. It's a lot of fun to listen to, and like the little electronica stuff is the only stuff that I think is like just straight up they used synthesizers and effects pedals here and there. That's not upcycled. But the stuff that's running through it just gives it that sort of... It's the glue that holds the weird ramshackle operation together. And it makes it feel really cohesive. Like, it actually has a really nice, coherent sound. It's not just clamour of, like, some fucking garbage cans being kicked about. It's really, really enjoyable. It's, there's not a whole lot to it because I can't understand a goddamn word they're saying. So like I can't comment on lyrics or anything like that. Yeah. But I know I had a lot of fun listening to it. So check it out. Co with an exclamation mark.
I'll do one quickly because in all honesty I don't really remember a lot of it. It's a new Tom Yorke album.
Oh, okay.
What was it called? Anima,
yeah. Another thing that has a companion movie.
Yes, yeah. Paul Thomas Anderson, sort of 15-minute.
At least it has the grace to be 15 minutes
15
long.
minutes, that's fine. The album's longer. I think the 15 minutes thing's like 3 songs. I liked it. It's pretty... It's very dancey. It's very electronic.
Yeah.
I liked Eraser, the first solo album.
Mm-hmm.
But the issue I always had with Tom Yorke's... I'm going to keep that. Tom Yorke's... That's a little reference to myself. The issue I had with his solo albums was what entirely differentiates between just a normal Radiohead album. Mm-hmm. Some of the... I definitely listened to the second solo album, which...
It's completely
forgettable.
Oh, Tomorrow's Modern Boxes.
Yeah,
something like
that.
It's really
Eraser's
bad.
Good.
Eraser's amazing.
It sort of sounds like the sort of a B-sides collection of Radiohead at that time almost. Sort of like In Rainbows plus.
Yeah.
And that's not knocking the record. Like, it's a good record, and In Rainbows is maybe controversially, I think it's their best record.
Yeah, probably is.
But so with his solo stuff, I'd always thought, like, what's the real difference between just another Radiohead album and his solo stuff? Whereas this one, I think it goes more heavy on the electronics.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Radiohead will experiment with electronics, but it seems this album seems to be more focused on sort of like beats.
Yeah,
it's less interested in atmosphere that you would get through a Radiohead album, I think. And it's more sort of like actually danceable.
Yeah,
it's got a a sort of concept to it, but he just seems to like, I'm just gonna make some dance music. I liked it. I'll need to give it another listen because I've only listened to it maybe twice.
Yeah.
I don't know. You're a big fan of Eraser.
Yeah, like it's probably on my top 10 list of favourite albums.
Okay.
Like if I were to try and assemble that, I think it'd be a struggle, but Eraser feels like it would be there because I found it at the right time. Like it was exactly, well, it came out at exactly the right time for me. It sort of made me, it completed me for a while.
Yeah.
It was a very genuinely moving album and I loved it a lot. And like, you can still go back and listen to it as like, it's a perfect little beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Doesn't overstay its welcome and it is more like sort of, even the beat driven thing is still very present in Eraser, but it is like it's
more sort of, there's a lot more piano chords and this sort of thing like you would get with a Radiohead album.
Yeah.
Then you get on this latest, I would
definitely it's like he's still in Radiohead mode.
Yeah.
In Eraser, where he's using that level of lyricism and like sort of vocal melodies and stuff like that you would expect.
Yeah.
But yeah, this record feels like it's something completely different. It's still got all the recognizable trappings of Tom York music and Radiohead music, but especially because things like Dawn Chorus sounds like a cut off of a Radiohead album to me.
Yeah.
Dawn Chorus is the slowest and most contemplative song on the album, I'd say, probably.
Yeah.
And it's like the one that's the most fucking depressing. It's like, it's a really, really great song, Dawn Chorus, but I Am a Very Rude Person is one of my favourite tracks on it because it's got that really fucking farty, like funky bass. It's got some fucking attitude, that song. You can see a little bit more of like Tom York's full blown I Hang Out with Flying Lotus midlife crisis coming out.
Yeah.
Where he's like, I am still young, look at me holding this synthesizer and playing it, and I'm holding it while I'm playing it, I'm doing a little dance while I'm playing it, and it's like, okay.
You missed the opportunity for a rhyme there. You could have went, I am still young, look at my greying man bun.
Tom, baby. From one balding man to another, chop the man bun off and shave your head.
Can dance though.
He can. He can. That's the thing. He looks like he's having a lot of fun when he's playing these songs.
Oh yeah.
Like when he's going full tilt, Atoms for Peace and this stuff.
Yeah.
It looks like he's enjoying himself a lot. And you know what? All power to him.
It's a bit of goofball Tom.
Yeah.
It's always good fun.
He's off his tits up there, fucking dancing away to his own music. It's great. I really like Anima. It's a very, very, very solid album. Is it Eraser? No. But it is a very good Tom York album.
Yeah.
And yeah, it still has all that. It still has all the heart that you would want from Tom York, but it's got a little
bit Animals or something.
But it's got a little bit of fucking attitude and a little bit of pace to it that maybe he's been lacking for a while. So it's very solid.
I'll do this one real quick because it's just a nice groovy little record.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Sinner and it's by Moody Man, and he's a somewhat mysterious, elusive Detroit sort of house music producer.
Okay.
And this is a really sort of varied and immersive record. It's got that sort of emotionally damaged thing that the Mannequin Pussy record has as well, but it's less upfront in terms of what it's actually tackling. It seems to be that it's got one half sort of like, oh, I'm up for a good night, and then the sort of hedonism of going out and dancing, but the sort of loneliness of it as well.
Okay.
So, like, it's typified on I think the first song, called I'll Provide, manages somehow to be both soulful and creepy. So it's sort of like glitchy, and it's got little bits of acid sort of sounds going through it, and it's very moody, almost sort of neo-soul. And the rest of the album sort of lives up to it. There's a lot of variation there. It's a real sort of, you could dance to it, but it seems to be emotionally bruised, and it seems to be that he's recovering from something, or it's very elusive, or it's so yeah, it's interesting. It's good. It's a good house music record. It's got enough variation on it that makes it really quite interesting. So that would be my little recommendation for that.
Nice.
What about yourself?
I'm gonna rattle off two quickly because they're very musically similar, and also my feelings on them are pretty similar. Hotly anticipated returns, both of them as well. The Black Keys with Let's Rock is a Black Keys album post Brothers.
Okay.
So if you're aware of who the Black Keys are, and you know where they started and what their sound was originally and where they ended up, you'll know that when I say post Brothers, you know that the production is a lot brighter, a lot like more professional, a lot more polished. There's more layers of vocal tracks, and like there's a lot more instrumentation going on as compared to something like Thick Freakness or Rubber Factory, where it was just dirty garage blues, blues rock from a fucking garage recorded on an 8-track, like proper grimy lo-fi rock.
Yeah. There's a bit of polish. Who was it? It was Danger Mouse was the producer, wasn't he? He came in.
Yeah.
And there's a bit more polish, and
because they did a collaboration with him called Black Rock.
Yeah, it was alright. It was okay.
And like I think he ended up producing some of their albums afterwards. So like things like Brothers,
Camino,
El Camino.
What
the fuck was the other one? Turn Blue and stuff. Turn Blue, a lot of people really didn't like, but I thought it was fine. Yeah. And that's the biggest problem, is like by a point I was just like, it's fine, and nothing got me in that way that like Rubber Factory would. Rubber Factory is so fucking good, and like Magic Potion, and even Attack and Release has some fucking bangers on it, like Strange Times and stuff like that. Psychotic Girl, like they're great. The Black Keys, I really like the Black Keys, but they disappeared off the fucking face of the earth for a long time after Turn Blue. And Dan Albrecht, whatever his name is, the lead guitarist and the lead singer, he went off and did his own thing with a band called The Arcs, where he incorporated more instrumentation and female backing vocals and stuff.
Oh, right, okay.
Like he had like 3 female singers with him the whole time, and that is on this album everywhere. Because The Arcs is done because the drummer died.
Oh, right, okay.
One of the guys from the band died, and like the band just sort of dissolved, but like you could tell they were building to a Black Keys reunion anyway, and then eventually when it came out, it was like, he's continuing this sound from The Arcs. Yeah. Which I don't have a problem with, but I really, really miss old Black Keys. Yeah. But it's the same old song and dance into. I miss the old Kings of Leon. I miss the old Biffy Clyro. Woe is me, I get to listen to good music.
They were... I'm less knowledgeable with the early Black Keys. Like, I know those albums, and I like them. Probably you were more invested in them. Yeah. I liked them, and I get the grunginess of them. I like the grunginess. Mm-hmm. There was a strange point where they it's the same sort of record, different sort of variations, but then at some point it's like, we'll get the mums involved, and that's not a complaint. I think some of the stuff on Brothers is really good in terms of like, okay, they've sort of changed it up and it's a little bit more poppy, a little bit more polished, and it was like, that's pretty cool. And then it was everywhere on every single advert. Hold on the ceiling.
Yeah, that El Camino went into overdrive. Gold in the Ceiling was fucking everywhere. And like I'd say El Camino is my least favourite of their albums, probably, because it's just too commercial.
Okay.
It's just too boring. Again, some decent tracks on it, but I've grown to resent what that album stands for. And then when Turn Blue came out, people hated it because it wasn't El Camino.
So is this new one more a turn back to the sort of more commercially poppy?
No. Surprisingly enough, no. It's definitely not a return to form of old, but it's not them regressing to the point where it's just like, let's make safe pop tracks. There's a lot of glam in this album.
Sort of T-Rex or something.
Yeah,
like
some songs in particular sound like they're fucking just exact T-Rex rip-offs almost. It's like, and I'm not a huge T-Rex fan, to be honest, but
there's that famous T-Rex song, isn't there? Gold on the sea.
You can see the influences in them, but like at the same time, this time it actually just sounds full blown like jangly, glam rock kind of sound to it.
Okay.
There's a strut in a lot of the songs on Let's Rock, and it's like some of it's really good. I really like Fire Walk With Me, and it's a nice little Twin Peaks reference.
Yeah, because the album's called Let's Rock, so is there more Twin Peaksy stuff in it?
The video for Fire Walk With Me is the electric chair in the middle of a room.
Okay.
And it's just all like shafts, like little thin shafts of light, and a guy dancing. It looks like he's dancing in a lodge.
Oh, right, okay.
It's like they're intentionally framing it like it's just this weird ethereal black space with lights and this electric chair, and the guy's dancing around it. And it's like, okay, fair enough, I get it. They're kind of going for something here. They're making these little references.
Okay.
And I kind of like that. There's little bits and pieces of it that are like, you can tell they're having a lot of fun with this record. They're coming back with like, Go is like one of the main singles, and it's got, it really goes. It's just a nice pop song.
Okay.
Like same with Eagle Birds, same with Low High. Lots of great pop tracks on it, like poppy kind of enjoyable songs, but not in that way where it was like, this is going to become advertiser bait. They just feel like solid pop rock.
All right.
So like not too approachable, not that consumer easy, like not fucking radio friendly unit shifters.
Yeah.
But definitely not the Black Keys of old. So I've got mixed feelings about it. I enjoy a lot of the album, but yeah, it's a little bit weak in terms of like, there's no experimentation or anything. There's no grime anymore. There's no bite. There's just it's a little bit of vaporware. It's fun, and then you kind of forget about it after a little while. But
fair enough.
Enjoyed it enough. And the other one, I'm going to talk less about this one because there's less to say. But the other big return was the Raconteurs came back. With an album called Help Us Stranger, and I really liked Jack White's last solo album. It was very experimental and weird.
Yeah, it was quite cool. Yeah, I quite liked it.
And this record is him going to what I think he really, really wants to be doing, which is making very, very traditional rock. And trying his best to capture that blues side of things. Like, of course, that documentary, It Might Get Loud, he talks about what his favourite song is, and it's that Sun House song where it's just a guy clapping, and he's clapping out of time, and it's called Smiling in My Face or Grinning in My Face or something like that. And there's references to that on one of the songs. It's like in Sunday Driver or something. No, not in Sunday Driver. It's God, Don't Bother Me. He makes like overt reference to it, like, you're grinning in my face, don't bother me. It's like there's very, very clearly you're trying to capture something with this band. The Raconteurs is like his classic like blues rock band.
Yeah.
But there's nothing on this album as good as Blue Veins from their first record.
Oh, right, okay.
Blue Veins is an excellent blues track. Really, really good. It's a shredder. He really goes for it. It's like this big, massive, long, sprawling blues ballad. There's nothing on this record that sounds like that. A lot of really solid tracks, like Don't Bother Me is great. Sunday Driver's good. Now That You're Gone is good. Help Me, Stranger. They're all seriously solid tracks, but again, it didn't capture my imagination the way I thought it would.
Okay.
So.
All right. Well, this one, and I've purposely left talking about extreme metal until near the end. This one, there's been a couple of decent extreme metal records this last month or so. The new Dark Throne album was actually pretty good, as was Less Interesting but Full of Hells most recent was okay. But the word on all extreme metal fans' lips has been the controversy with the release of the new album from BoKcast, who are a Polish black metal band.
Oh, is this the band that broke up into two BoKcastas?
Yeah, yes. So, for a little bit of background here, they released this album called Liturgia, I think is how you pronounce it, in 2015, and it's a great record. It sort of, you can tell why it exploded on the metal scene. It's a sort of strange black metal hybrid with sort of the theatricalities of Orthodox Russian, Polish church music. Right. So it's sort of quite choral, and there's sort of strange vocals going on, and it's sort of it sounds like a choir's almost singing it, and then you've got this sort of dirgy black metal, and it's great, and there's lots of bells and all this sort of stuff. I would go as far as saying it might be the second best Polish black metal album of the decade. So what's the first? So that record was great. And then what's happened is effectively the band was BoKcast is this one guy effectively called his name is Krzysztof Drabikowski.
Okay.
I think that's how you pronounce it. So he's a sort of multi-instrumentalist, and effectively what his claim is that the band is himself. He got in a drummer, he got in a singer to become a sort of live piece.
Yeah.
What happened with the release of that first record was they got a lot of attention, they did a lot of festival stuff, and they got signed by Metal Blade. What then happened is there's a schism within the band. The singer that was brought in sort of effectively tried to take over control of the band. So there's been a lot of withholding of online accounts and this sort of stuff, to effectively that this guy Krzysztof forced out the band, and there's this upcoming release for the band called BoKcast, but it's the lead singer, or it's the singer and the other members without the founder.
Okay.
So what Krzysztof does is he releases an album quickly to get out before them. This album is called Panahida. I'm going to say that again. I think that's how you pronounce it. So this album is released to make sure that it gets out before the next official, in inverted commas, BoKcast album. And that album is called Hospody. So this has been a great source of controversy in the metal scene, because Metal Blade releasing this and promoting it, I think they've went as far as they've disabled comments on the official BoKcast's YouTube. A lot of people say the band is this Krzysztof, and that this other one is sort of just an imitation of it. Now, having said all that, neither album is as interesting as that last album in 2015.
Yeah.
The one that Krzysztof released is rushed, probably understandably, to get out. It's rushed, and the production is not as interesting, and it's sloppy. And the album that the band called BoKcast, still going by them, that name, is more polished. It's got much better production, but there's something missing from that record. It goes more down the line of this sort of Orthodox church music. So the sort of gimmick, if you'll call it that, of the first album. And it feels a little soulless.
Yeah.
There's something missing from the record. What's missing is this guy, Christoph. Whereas Christoph's record is a lot more black metal and it's a bit scrappier, but it's really hampered by the production. So it's just, they're both disappointing records in different ways, and the records are not as interesting as the backstory. Backstory's fascinating just in terms of how record labels deal with sort of contentious issues like this, and there's a lot of sort of shadiness involved with it. My advice would just be listen to the album from 2015. These are not bad records. They're just, there's something missing from them.
Yeah.
I know you love The Satanist by Behemoth.
Oh, yeah.
Listen to that first album. That first album by them, the Litigoria, is fucking great. It's so good.
Yeah, I was like, I was going to say, I was like, we all know secretly in our heart of hearts what the best Polish metal record of basically all time, or at least in the past like 2 decades, was. It is The Satanist. But,
it is.
But yeah.
That comes very... that comes close. It's interesting enough and weird enough.
Yeah. I like how you're describing it as being like it's got bells and stuff in it.
Yeah,
like
it's very theatrical.
Yeah,
It's very...
yeah.
That's a great record.
Let's not beat around the bush. Let's get to Black Midi's Schlagenheim.
Yeah, go with that.
Schlagenheim.
Album of the month.
It
For me, I love it.
It is the album of the month because I've never really heard anything like it.
It's weird. And it's an indie album, guys. I liked it.
Yeah. It's indie and they're very Brit school.
They're very Brit school, yeah.
My main complaint with this record, as inventive and weird and cool as it is, it's not effortless. You can tell it's very contrived.
Aye.
They are going out of their way to be like, imagine if Alt J, but through a David Lynch filter or something. Like
I quite like that about the record. I like that it's dumb. it's sort of clever and stupid.
Yeah.
And everything in between. They're about 17 or something, so it's almost like, right, we're going to throw everything, including the kitchen sink, into this. So basically, it's sort of guitar-y indie music, a little bit of prog, I guess, influence, and then the grooves are just absolute mammoth. They are huge. There's a lot of time signature changes in volume. The drumming really holds this record together. It's like somebody's listened to sort of like post-punk and a little bit of prog music, and it's filtered through indie guitar music, and it's just as weird as all that sounds. It's like it's like Public Image Limited, The Fall, sort of weird art rocky stuff as well.
I can absolutely hear influences of Shellac and Big Black in here.
Yeah, there's definitely...
Like, there's that track Near DTMI.
Oh God, that's so good.
It sounds like a fucking Big Black song.
Oh, that's so good. I love that.
It's unbelievable. Song. And like BM is my favourite track because it's got that bizarre sample. Like, have you ever seen them play that live? He plays the sample off of his phone into the guitar pickup.
Oh, right.
Like, he just puts the mic at the speaker of the phone into his guitar pickup, and it just has this weird ranting, raving woman in the background, just him being like, she moves with a purpose. What a magnificent purpose.
I just love it. It's such a weird record. It's truly experimental, but it's not unlistenable. It's not.
It gets there at times.
It gets very atonal.
Yeah.
At points.
It verges on patience testing in places, but as we all know, sometimes the best stuff does test your patience a little bit. Sometimes you've got to work a little bit for you to love it. Yeah. And this album is hard to love.
It's hard to love, but some of the best albums are hard to love.
Yeah. Just look at that Daughters album.
Now my album of the year.
Looking back at it, that album, I think I put it at number 7. It should have been 2 because I still love Joy as an Act of Resistance.
Yeah, no, that's...
But what the fuck? Like, I had to work to love that.
It's definitely an album you have to work at.
And now,
like this one is.
Yeah, now I love it like it's my own child.
Yeah.
And I think if I give this album maybe another 4 or 5 listens, I've already listened to it like 6 times.
Yeah, it's great.
But if I give it the full 10, I'll probably end up wanting to sing its praises from the rooftops. I already really like it, but it's so fucking hard in places, like so difficult. It's going to be one of those ones that by the time we're talking about it at the end of the year, it's going to be really, really up there.
I think so. I think it will be.
That's the music for basically the past month and a bit. Now we're just going to segue absolutely seamlessly into our music book club section where we recommend each other
an older album.
Yeah. An album out of our past, or like maybe something that you think like
one that we like that the other one hasn't listened to.
Yeah, you need to
one that each of us, you know what I'm trying to get. If you've listened this far, you'll get the concept.
So, last month you recommended that I listen to Dizzy Rascal's "Boy in Da Corner."
Yeah, I love it.
As basically the album that exposed the masses to grime.
Yes, yeah.
That basically became like the flag bearer, the standard bearer for grime music.
And every other grime record is held up. And it's held up to that in terms of what's the quality of it.
Yeah. And I did actually really enjoy a lot of it.
Okay.
It's got a hell of a lot of fucking attitude. It's very, very grimy, as it suggests. It's dirty and just... It's got a lot of fucking energy, and it's all down to Dizzy himself.
Yeah.
Because the beats are Spartan in places.
Yeah, what I think with grime, which was so peculiar when it came out compared to American hip-hop at the time, is it's very icy. Mm-hmm. It's very sort of sparse and quite intimidating in terms of its sort of simplicity. Yeah. So that's where it just sort of pricked your ears and you went, oh, what the fuck is this weird music?
It's that weird video gamey sound that the beats have. It, as you say, it does sound cold. It sounds like even the bass, when it gets to its chunkiest, sounds almost fragile. Like there's a reverberation in it that's like, this is compressed sounding.
It's really compressed and synthetic sounding.
Yeah, there's something kind of just
sort of machine music.
Yeah, and the only thing that saves it is Dizzy himself just being this, like, I mean, the beats aren't bad by any stretch of the imagination, but it needs the injection of a bit of personality. And Dizzy's got that in spades. The thing about the record that I alluded to earlier on in the episode was it goes on a bit. It's a bit long. It's like almost an hour.
Yeah, maybe just over. Yeah.
It's quite long, and I started to feel it by the second third, like sort of a bit past the midway point. I started to feel like it's kind of like he said everything he needed to say, kind of thing. And then after that point, there were tracks though that kind of picked it up. What You On is after the halfway point, sort of towards the 2/3 mark, and I was like, this is what I needed. This is a really good track. And then Jezebel hits.
Oh, Jezebel's great. Yeah.
Jezebel has an energy to it that the rest of the album desperately needed. It brings things down a little bit.
It's a sort of slower tempo.
Slows it down and makes the beat a little bit cleaner.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah,
it sort of gives the track room to breathe, kind of thing. It's almost like he's sucked in some air for it or something. It's like his chest is expanded for it, and it's like it feels like a little bit of a breath of life. It felt very nice to have that at the sort of late stages in the album. But as good as Jezebel is as a song, because again I like the beat a lot more, and I like his delivery on it, and like that the way that he hits his bars, like the rhythm that he's on for it is so perfect.
He's never been better.
Yeah, it's like I can totally see why people think that he's like maybe one of the biggest wastes of talent. Like he's squandered something, because it feels like he never got that to that point of like he's firing on all cylinders ever again. Like he started just making way more commercial shit after this. And
the pop music sort of came in after this. And
it's like you can tell this guy had something and he isn't living up to his potential.
He's I would put it I would compare it to Nas's Illmatic.
Okay.
In terms of, it's the first album they do.
Mm-hmm.
It's sort of storytelling album. It's very much rooted in its environment, and by and large, there's not a lot of featurings.
Mm-hmm.
It's them themselves, and they are going hard and fierce at it.
Yeah.
Nas then can never live up to Illmatic. He's released some good records, some good solitary tracks, and I saw him live, and he still brings it.
Okay.
But he's never going to have another Illmatic. The same could be said for Dizzy.
Yeah.
Individual great tracks, in his subsequent career, but he's never going to top it.
And it's a shame that we have to. Ultimately, it always happens.
Yeah.
The worst thing that we can do for artists and in any form of creative media at all is compare them to themselves in the past.
Yeah, okay.
It's unfair,
right.
but at the same time, we all do it, and we can't avoid doing it. That's the worst part of it. My problem with Jezebel is, and it's the only really standout moment on the album where I was like, this feels very dated now.
Yeah.
It's basically an entire song dedicated to slut shaming.
Okay.
And I started to be like, oh, but it's like he's using this as a commentary on like social degradation, or like maybe like areas that are a little bit more deprived of resources and like proper education, or like sex and stuff like that, whatever. But no, it isn't that, because when you listen to it, it is literally just like, this girl's a loser, she got fucked a lot and has kids and now she's old.
You think? Okay.
Yeah, and it's like, it doesn't feel like a commentary so much as just basically like a kind of fucking jibe, like a cruel, like a joke.
Yeah.
On this this fictional person's behalf, kind of thing. Okay. It's like, it's not. There's no room for sympathy or understanding. It's more. It's more a kind of. It's a pointing out, as if like these sort of women are a dime a dozen. As if it doesn't take two to tango.
Right.
Like, guys have to have sex with women for women to be quote unquote promiscuous.
Okay.
It's like, that means the guys probably shagging about as well, but you don't have songs about guys shagging about.
Yeah.
And shaming them for it. You don't have like songs about that, and that was the one moment on the album where I was like, this feels really, really dated. Like, you couldn't get away with shit like that anymore, and for good reason. Like, again, love the song. I think it's a really good song, and he's great on it, and the beat's solid. But yeah, it's like, it felt very dated for me in that regard of just like that attitude.
I guess,
especially because he is very socially aware on the rest of the album.
Yeah,
the whole thing is just talking from that point of view of like, being in deprived areas, being a part, or like at least formerly a part of that kind of environment where you're just like, you feel this inescapable oppression of poverty and stuff like that. There's like little allusions of that the way through the album, and little bits and pieces, and it's like, some of it's more caustic than others, and that's maybe where the Jezebel thing is.
I think
maybe it is meant to be. Maybe it is meant to be trying to be understanding, but to me, I think it was kind of lost a little bit.
No, that's fair enough. I thought it was. I mean, I've not re-listened to it in a while, but I thought it was at the time, just because you had they had the track earlier, "I Love You," and that one is very much about the war between the sexes, and there's no real harmony between them. So I always took Jezebel as being more like a piece about, you're in the mindset of somebody within this area, or somebody with these opinions. I think
right.
That's what I sort of take.
So he's playing the character of someone who's looking at this woman and going like, oh, I hope you're no a dirty kind of thing.
That's how I always took it.
Yeah.
Because as sort of clear-minded he is on certain issues in the album, in terms of degradation or whatever, I think, and it's not entirely clear maybe, but I think at some points he takes on other personas or voices. So in terms of the violence on the album, and it's pervasive. Probably what like urban life is like, London. I think he takes on slightly different voices within the album. Maybe I can see the issue with that song.
I mean, maybe I've misread it then. If it is a case of like,
it could be the case. I'd need to re-listen to it again.
I think it's maybe because it is such a clear it's such a clear track.
It's sort
and
of more out in the open.
Yeah, it's got so much room to breathe that I actually focused on the lyrics a lot more than maybe the other ones in the album. And I was like, I started to read into them maybe something that isn't there.
No, you might be right. I need to re-listen to it.
But if it is a case of like shifting voices and shifting characters, then if I went back and listened to it again, which I do plan to, I actually really, really like this album. Again, if you looked up a dictionary and you looked up the definition of the word banger, it would be I Love You. It would just play at you.
I Love You. That was like the first single off the album. And I remember, it must have been, I think that came out the year before the album, so I think it was 2002. So I'd be 13, and it was just like, what the fuck is this? Immediately, like, I love this, whatever this is. And that's where my love of grime sort of originated. But yeah, so you did mostly enjoy the album.
Yes, absolutely. It's a very, very fun album. And yeah, as gassed as I was by the fucking like 50-minute mark or something, it doesn't necessarily overstay its welcome. I just started to lose track a little bit. Right. It does feel like some of the weaker songs are loaded at the back. With like Jezebel and What You On and stuff like that, like they're the two strongest tracks in the final. The third.
Second half of the album,
and like, not that any of the tracks were necessarily bad. I'd just say it's like it does kind of lose steam a little bit, but other than that, I would happily listen to it again. Probably wouldn't listen to any of Dizzy's other stuff because I know that it's like a considerable drop off.
The second one's all right.
Okay.
The second one's
Showtime?
Okay. And there's some good stuff on the third album, which I can't... It's called like Maths in English or something like that. There's some decent stuff on that. I mean, some of those pop songs were alright.
Yeah, Bonkers is a great
is
track.
Good fun.
Yeah, that's a great track.
You know, if it came on, I would dance to it. It's not the same Dizzy that you get on this album. Yeah. So it's all just about preference. So the album that you had selected for me was Midnight Organ Fight by Frightened Rabbit, a Scottish band.
Yep.
And this is not the sort of thing that I would typically listen to. It's more in line with sort of folk rock. It's not full blown folk. It's sort of folk rock and pop maybe.
Yeah.
And so going into the album, I thought I'm going to struggle with the folky stuff.
Yeah,
probably the lyrics, because I'd heard the lyric. He was fantastic lyrically.
Yeah,
and what actually I found was it's almost like an anti-folk album.
Mm-hmm.
The musicianship on it is very good, and it's not in your face. It's not like a sort of yeehaw barnstorming. Thing. The music on it is very stripped back, and that I imagine that was done to very much focus your attention on the vocals.
Mm-hmm.
The musicianship involved is really good, and it certainly sort of chugs along and it sort of goes along at a really nice pace, but it never became overblown in its folk instrumentation, whereas it took me out the record. So it never did that for me, which I was really thankful for. There are then moments on the album which depart from the folk instrumentation. Some of the more instrumental tracks, there's like Who'd You Kill Now? And Extra, I'll get that wrong, won't I? Extra Super Very, whatever. They're sort of almost more... There's a slight undercurrent of electronica, slight, like a little sort of Mogwai-ish, or like a Arab strap thing going on there. What this album is all about is the lyrics, I would say. He is a great lyricist, and some Scottish people have a thing where the noise of a Scottish person singing sets their ears on fire. I don't have that necessarily. Yeah. But there's certainly if you ever go see karaoke and people sing in a Scottish accent, there's certain melodies or certain harmonies that Scottish voices don't necessarily gravitate towards. And this guy knows he's a great singer. He knows how to sing, and I loved how local it was and how Scottish it was, but at no point does it get bagpipes and fucking traditional Scottish music bullshit.
Yeah.
I liked that I recognised a lot of the stories on it. You know, there's if you're Scottish and you listen to this album, there's a lot of real dark comedy on the record.
Oh yeah, that's the thing. He's always been he was
really
always
funny
a funny guy.
It's a really funny record.
Yeah.
And the whole thing about, you know, getting your cunt kicked in and
yeah,
all of this sort of stuff is.
and one of the most recognisable lyrics ever on the album is, "You won't find love in a hole. It takes more than fucking someone to keep yourself warm."
Yes, it's so funny.
So good.
It's so good, and it's so clever and witty. It sort of reminded me a little of, like, the lyrics are as interesting as sort of interested in relationships and falling in and out of love. It's a breakup album effectively. He's as interested and gifted lyrically as Jarvis Cocker would have been at his prime, in terms of, here's a little nugget of a relationship issue and I'm going to turn that into a song. He's really got a good ear for it. And the dark comedy on the album in terms of breaking up with someone and you know, having sex with, you know, just getting out and getting drunk and having sex with folk and all this sort of stuff, and it's just great. The album's really good. It kicks off with the Modern Leper, Modern Leper, and some of the imagery that he conjures in this album is sort of almost Tom Waits, Nick Cave level of freak show analogies and sort of strange bodily functions and these sorts of things, that it's like, I would love to hear. I don't know whether there's any other albums that they would have done that's more in line with this. I would have loved to have heard them do something like an alt country record, like something more like a Murder Ballads or something like grimy and sort of like gruesome. I think it could have been really, the dark comedy of it would have really shone. I really loved this record. It's really good. It's really funny.
I'm very surprised, to be honest. I
really liked it. I loved a lot of the songs. Like Heads Roll Off is fantastic. My Backwards Walk. It's pretty much song for song. It's really good. And the issue with the song Floating in the Fourth. I suppose the issue with this is because that's how he killed himself. So I found it unbearably sad at certain points. But the music is by and large not a dirge.
No.
It's not suicidal. There's references to suicide, but it's not. What differentiates this between... Okay, so Joy Division's Closer is a suicide note written as an album. And that makes it uncomfortable to listen to and also strangely beautiful. This album doesn't feel like that. This album has references to suicide, but it doesn't feel suicidal. Mostly the music is very joyous and sort of upbeat, even with this sort of dark comedy or loss of love undercurrent going on. So that song, if you separate it from the events of his death, it almost feels quite a nice, like, almost like a sailor's song, almost like I'm going to float down the river and I'm going to one of these sorts of sea shanty almost sort of thing. So I thought it was a great record. I thought it was really interesting. It really, I'm not somebody that gravitates towards lyrically focused records. I like a bit of rhythm more. There's albums that I love that I've heard a million times and I don't know the words because I'm listening to the bass, I'm listening to the drums, I'm listening to, and that's all my dad's influence.
Yeah.
I'm more a drummer's son than I am a singer's son. This is clever enough and funny enough and honest enough as well.
Yeah.
You feel with this album, as much as it's got one side that's sort of jokey and sort of darkly humorous, and then it'll sort of hit you another way, and it'll just give you something very sad. But it doesn't. The sadness never sort of overpowers the record.
No, it's quite a bittersweet experience.
Yeah, bittersweet's the right word. Yeah, I really liked it. I think this guy really had some talent in terms of the lyric writing, and he could be held up with other great lyricists that I would listen to. So I would listen to this album again. I would listen to their other ones.
I would heavily recommend Pedestrian Verse.
Okay.
It's my favourite next to that one.
Okay.
Pedestrian Verse has songs like Oil Slick and Nitrous Gas on it that are like, as far as I'm concerned, Oil Slick is like a distillation of everything that he's written about all in one song that has a surprisingly interesting little pop hook to it. Yeah. But again, it's fucking miserable. It's got this nice pop hook, but it's miserable. Him talking about the fact that he can't write happy songs because of the oil slick, the oil slick in his head kind of thing. Right. Like he can't come up with pithy, fun, happy lyrics because he just keeps spewing oil out of his mouth. It's like, that's fantastic. The images that he conjures up and stuff like that.
The images on the album's great. Yeah. That was cool.
Cool, excellent. I'm happy that you took something from it.
Yeah.
But okay, so what am I getting? What am I getting for next month?
Right. So, the two that I've given you so far have been Mayhem and Dizzy Rascal, and they sort of cover hip hop and heavy metal.
Yep.
My three loves when I first started to form my own music were hip hop, heavy metal, and house. Okay. Model 500 is the name of the artist. This is a pseudonym for Juan Atkins, who is part of the Belleville Free, pretty much formed techno music. Now, if you need a delineation, techno music is more sort of interested in sort of Kraftwerk influence in terms of its sort of post-humanism, but it's interested in sort of finding the soul of the music. So it's sort of like robots with heart is sort of techno music compared to house music, which is more informed by sort of disco music and sort of the gay scene, and it's about sort of big soul samples. So I always gravitated towards sort of techno just in terms of it's more sort of futuristic, and it's I mean, I love house as well, but anyway. So yeah, Model 500's the artist, and the album's called Classics.
Okay.
It was released in like 91, 92, something like that, and effectively it's a compilation. This guy, Juan Atkins, he basically started making techno music when he was like 12, 13, something like that.
Yeah.
And it predates any sort of timeline that people would go, well, this is when it started. No, it started much earlier. Don't go into this record thinking it's going to be it's going to have a thesis or a theme or anything. It's just 8 solid bangers.
Okay.
For dancing to. And I think there's enough sort of interesting flourishes in the technology of it or the instrumentation of it that is quite interesting. What about yourself? What am I going to listen to?
I kind of feel like I fall into very, very familiar traps a lot of the time because I get the feeling you knew at some point I was going to make you listen to a Coheed and Cambria album properly.
No, that's okay.
And I kind of feel like doing it just to get it out of the way because I've always kind of wanted to know what you thought of Coheed and Cambria when they were in their like gestational period. The first Coheed and Cambria album, Second Stage Turbine Blade.
Text me the name.
Yeah.
Coheed and Cambria. Right, okay, cool.
it's the stepping off point for their big Amory Wars epic saga of concept albums. And of course, because they're wanks, they started on the second installment and then went back and did a prequel. Right. So it was like Year of the Black Rainbow, second stage Turbine Blade. It's all incredibly up its own arse. He makes songs based around characters that he made in a comic book. So everything is this sprawling story with characters and very clear voices being done in like situations that only make sense if you read up, but you don't really need to because the tracks are just so fucking good.
Yeah.
You can probably completely tune out his lyricism and just focus on his voice as an instrument, because I know you're not particularly happy with his voice. He's got
at least at the time.
Yeah,
I've avoided Coheed and Cambria since we were both 14 or something.
And I think your only exposure to them was when they were coming out with the big singles at the time, where it was like Welcome Home and The Suffering and stuff like that. So maybe you only heard them when they were at their, like, I'd say most accessible, and when he was probably
most Kerrang.
Yeah. When he was at his most simpering.
Okay.
Like when he's like, he had that really high pitched voice, but it was like when he's doing his love ballad stuff, it gets a lot more like lyrical and like kind of where it's like a lilting kind of sound to it.
Yeah.
His cadence is completely different on the early stuff. In particular, second stage Turbine Blade is grimy. The production is dirty, and I would actually go so far as to say sloppy in places.
Okay.
It actually sounds,
I like a bit of slop in my mouth.
It's like it actually has significantly more bite than I think people think Coheed and Cambria should have.
Yeah, okay.
Because Coheed and Cambria are associated with these big like
balladry,
sprawling prog ballads and stuff, whereas Second Stage Turbine Blade is a little bit sort of mellow in places, and then it just goes fucking nuts in places as well.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of diversity and a little bit of like actual fire in it, and a little bit of bite to it. So going a completely different route next time.
That's okay. No, I will shed all my preconceptions with Coheed and Cambria. But yeah, cool. I'll listen to that. That sounds cool.
Cool.
All right.
And we'll hopefully be able to rein it in a little bit next time as well, because we said we were going to actually be a bit quicker this time, and we ended up talking for exactly the same amount of time as we did last time.
I'll need to go now.
So thanks for listening. If you did listen all the way to the end, bravo, and tell us whether or not you listened to Midnight Organ Fight and or Boy in the Corner. You know,
why not do that whole YouTube thing?
Yeah, say stuff. We'd appreciate it. So
I'll respond to you.
We're going to try and be engaging with our community if you decide to show up. So
I'll say hello.
Thanks.
Thank you. Bye-bye.